Alright, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the developments that's been going on in different conflicts, as in Ukraine, Palestine. So let's just start with what's going on in Gaza right now. And with this map, we can see what is going on in Gaza. So of course, the north is still cut out from the south. They're starting to push from the north a little bit with this little bridgehead you can see right over here. They've already started um, entering from the east, and they're basically in the center of Gaza. And other than that, they've started attacking the south, and now this is obviously after the ceasefire that happened, where they exchanged hostages. They started attacking Khan Yunis, with coming from the eastern side once more in the southern part. All of these areas are the most densely packed if we're talking purely by population. And this truly shows how badly the Israelis are wanting to get these people who live here out. Really wanting to push them down south into Sinai, which has been mentioned many times. Although, with the resolutions and ceasefires that are being pushed through the UN, are really going to make this difficult to do quickly. And we already know that they are running out of time. And the reason we can say this is because of the amount of things that have been pushed through the UN that have been obviously vetoed, and at this point only the US is vetoing these resolutions, the last one being one that was pushed by the AUE, for a ceasefire, for everything to stop, and actually have peacekeepers in the area. But the United States vetoed this resolution, and they're the only ones who have done so. The UK, for example, abstained, leaving them. A lot of people are saying this has left the US isolated in this decision. Well, obviously, you can say that since they're the only ones who vetoed this. And this is kind of like Biden telling Netanyahu, yo, you should probably do whatever you gotta do quickly. They said around a month or a couple weeks. If the Israelis will be able to actually take over the entire area or get all of the Palestinians out of there in that time, honestly, I doubt. In my opinion, I do not think they'll actually be able to take over the entirety of Gaza, or at least get to a state that they would be pleased with. I truly don't think this is going to be a possibility. A very interesting idea that the IDF had for Gaza to be able to storm it quickly was to flood the underground tunnels with seawater. Now, since these tunnels span the entirety of Gaza, they're underneath all of the cities, all of the villages. This obviously means that if you flood the tunnels with seawater, all of Gaza will fall to the ground, or not to the ground, it'll be submerged in this water since it will go through all of the dirt underneath the cities, making them soft, leading to streets just getting destroyed, homes, buildings, anything you can think of, really. This is a very obvious war crime. Um, Russia themselves, if I'm not mistaken, it was Lavrov, said that if this were to happen, they would consider it a war crime. No other countries have really talked or given statements about the idea that the Israelis pushed. If they will actually do this, I also very much doubt, because they're already losing the, I guess you could say, social media campaign for this invasion. So if they were to continue doing pretty horrible stuff that they cannot explain, this will just make everyone even more angry and more angry at other governments for not being able to fix this very obvious problem. But eventually, the US will have to fold. According to them, the reason they keep vetoing these resolutions is because they're not condemning Hamas enough. Eventually, I assume the countries will have to do something about the complaints that the US is giving. They will fix the apparent complaints, and the US will have to fold eventually. Most probably in a couple of weeks to around a month, and we'll see what happens. And just to throw in a little story that has to do with Palestine before I go on to what's next. Very, I guess you could call it interesting interview happened concerning videos that have been going around on like Telegram, well, mainly Telegram. So the videos are of the Israeli Defense Forces filming Palestinian men basically surrendering, and they were forced to take off their shirts, and they were sitting on the ground with like their hands on their head in their underwears. And the funny thing, this is obviously horrible, but the funny thing about this is the reaction, or more so explanation, that was given by the Israelis. So, a senior advisor to Netanyahu named Mark Regev, he was in an interview, and when he was asked about these videos of these people being in their underwears, being for obviously forced to do so by people who have guns, this is his response. He says, "Remember, it's the Middle East and it's warmer here, especially during the day when it's sunny. To be asked to take off your shirt, it might not be pleasant, but it's not the end of the world." So, according to this man, it was just really warm. It was really hot. Remember, it's the Middle East, so they all took off their shirts. Even though it's already December, it's already actually starting to get cold there. Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna pull up how hot it is right now, and I bet it is not warm. Okay, so in my opinion, honestly, the temperature to take your shirt off would be probably higher than like 35. It's like 19 degrees in Gaza as of me looking at the forecasting there. So take that how you will. This is obviously just a stupid explanation by a stupid man. Take it as you will. Not that surprising. So, on to what is next. And what is next is Ukraine. But we're not going to be talking about what the situation on the ground is just yet, because there's a very interesting situation that I'd like to touch on, which has to do with the aid package that the Democrats have been trying to ram through Congress, which has not been going well so far. So this is according to Tucker Carlson, who said this on Twitter, said this on X, call it what you will. This is his tweet. The Biden administration is openly threatening Americans over Ukraine. In a classified briefing in the House yesterday, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin informed members that if they don't appropriate more money for Zelensky, we'll send your uncles, cousins, and sons to fight Russia. Pay the oligarchs or we'll kill your kids. Elon Musk replied to this asking if this is true, and Tucker Carlson said that, yes, I can confirm this myself. So, very obvious threatening happening in the Congress because the money isn't going to Zelensky, and very sad you can't take over all of Russia anymore because obviously You just need to give more money, just a bit more money, then they'll be able to go to Crimea, cut off everything, cut cut the forces, take over everything, not only take over Ukraine, take over all of Russia, just all the way to Moscow. From Moscow, you can go all the way to Siberia because that's all it takes, just the money. Then you can finally, overthrow Putin. This is the way these people think. It's very stupid, very very stupid. All right, so that's the little story that happened in the U.S. Now let's go to Ukraine. So what's actually happening on the ground? The areas that were gained by the Ukrainians during the summer is being taken back by the Russians. So what I'm talking about is mainly the areas around Rabotina. This little town was taken over by the Ukrainians and many of the surrounding areas and fields in the summer. And right now, albeit slowly and surely, the Russians are taking it back. They haven't actually entered the settlement yet, although they are very much encroaching it. And other than this area, there's also obviously the current encirclement of Avdiivka that is still going on, with them still pushing very slowly and surely. As always, it's just the Russians are very slowly pushing, and Ukrainians are just not able to push back. And a very big issue has been, we could say, has come about recently for the Ukrainians, which is the fact that they don't have any more men. There's been videos going around of women fighting. There was a video of a pregnant woman. I don't believe it personally, although there is a video of some Russian soldiers going to some soldier who had surrendered, and she screams, "Please don't kill me! Please don't kill me! I'm pregnant!" And the Russians are like, "Why are you here if you're pregnant?" I really don't believe it, although I do believe that they are getting women to fight, as well as there are many videos going around of these recruitment officers chasing people down. There's a video of them actually storming a hotel to just get as many men as they can out of there. And this is mainly in the western regions, not in Lviv or Lvov, however you wish to call it, but more south. There's a very apparent issue with soldier numbers, and they're not able to fight with the amount of soldiers they have, so they're forced to just find them on the street, grab them, send them to war, then they die, and then they get more men, but then there's less men. So it's going to be an endless cycle until there's no more men. The women will they You can't really just mobilize the women as well, for obvious reasons, because if they die, then there's just going to be a bunch of orphans lying around, and I doubt that the Ukrainian government will be able to handle such a crisis. So that's the situation in Ukraine as well. So that's the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of that. Don't forget to condemn war crimes, as I always say, and that's it. Bye bye.